The big day of the year for Newcastle Racecourse. All the Geordies will be in their finery up there, regardless of the weather, for Northumberland Plate Day. And the big race is at 3:30. And Rob, before the lads give us their views, take us through the leading prices.
OK, we're 5 places on this, and the market leaders Fly Me to the Stars, who looks as though he's been lined up for this. 11-2 Seymour, running in his 3rd plate. It's 8's Higher Power and Natural Scenery. We're 9-1 Jamais, 12-1 Lord George, and You're Kidding, and at 16's Bar.
Lee, you go first. Who wins?
I think it will probably be Natural Scenery for Godolphin, and Josephine Gordon has a very lightly raced profile compared to most of these in this race. Has 2 good wins at Newcastle. You can forgive the horse. The performance last time wasn't ridden to best advantage. So I think Natural Scenery could be a back-to-back winner for Godolphin. But I do think Seymour has been given a great chance of winning it to make up for last year's luckless defeat. Only £4 high. We all remember what happened last year. Swept to the front. People were practically congratulating Brian Ellison on winning the race he covets more than any others. Didn't quite happen. I just fear that maybe a horse in blue could again leave Brian frustrated.
OK, Kills, before you give us your plate view, are you in form? I can't remember. I haven't caught up with you since Royal Ascot. Royal Ascot was not great, was it?
It's one of those where, I had a few fancies in advance that I sort of jumped off of, and some of those won, which is rather annoying. And it ended up being one of my worst Royal Ascots for quite a long while.
But so you're confident that this weekend will bring a recovery?
You've got to keep putting your head down and cracking on, haven't you? And I backed to nice with it yesterday. So hopefully on the way back, yeah.
Are you confident about the plate?
Reasonably, yeah. I mean, I was having a look at all of the Godolphin horses. I mean, I fell for one of theirs in the Queen Alexandra winning story, and it didn't stay. Now, if you looked at his form, I mean, he looked the absolute perfect type for this race. But then I looked at, and Godolphin had a hell of a lot of horses rated, 2-mile stayers rated in the right sort of bracket that you need to get into the Northumberland Plate, and they've settled on 2, Natural Scenery and Good Run. And I think Natural Scenery is a bit of a standout. If you can go back and watch that February win where she absolutely thrashed London Prize. Jockey was easing up well before the line, still pulling away. The distance could have been a lot more than 2.5 lengths. And she just looked like she absolutely loved the surface. I mean, that made it 2 from 2 there. She's 3 from 3 for Josephine Gordon. I think she just has to go really, really well. She went off favourite for the all-weather marathon. That was at Lingfield on Good Friday. But she was drawn wide and she was held up and she ran into trouble, and it just wasn't, it didn't pan out. But this long straight will suit perfectly, and I cannot see her finishing out of the frame.
Copying Lee Mottazed again, Kills.
Yeah, I know. Terrible, isn't it? Can't help it. Not an original thought in my head. Dear. I mean, Fly Me to the Stars is favourite. You have to respect it. But a bit like the Says, Sir Mark Prescott's had loads of near misses in races like the Northumberland Plate, and the Says never won one. Never won either of them. But and this is a lightly raced horse. I think the biggest field it's ever run in is 10, and there's suddenly going to be 20. So I think he's probably up against it. I don't like him at the price.
Righty-ho, 2 votes for Natural Scenery. Rob, who gets your vote?
Yeah, it's not often, I suppose, that we get a full house for an 8-1 chance, but pretty much everything the lads have said are in my notes for Natural Scenery. Obviously, he's one of 4 course winners and 2 from 2, and as Paul said, things just didn't go right in that in the marathon race at Lingfield. So I think he'll be back to his preferred conditions here. Just in Paul's defence, when we go back to Royal Ascot, he did steer everybody in the direction of September going for the Chesham. Remember, so he certainly steered me. So I don't know if he backed her, but
I missed the price. Yeah, it was 8-1, wasn't it?
8, yeah.
I never had a bean on. In fact, I backed the second, or third even.
Yeah, so well done there.
Yeah,
jolly good. 3 votes for Natural Scenery. 20 runner, 2-mile handicaps, piece of piss. The 150 at Newcastle, the Bedford celebrating 50 years of success handicap over 6 furlongs. What's the latest betting, please, Rob?
Right, so we're 5-1 about Mazzini. It's 7's Amazor, Ribeiro and Unabated. 8's Poet Society. 12 the Commendator and Alcoa. 14's Bar.
Lee's turned his nose up at this one, so Kills, it's all yours.
I backed Amazor in the Wokenham last week, and though he finished sort of well down the field, I don't think he ran anywhere near as bad as it looked, because he got in trouble, and I think he'd have finished a hell of a lot closer without that, without being in the frame. But it would have shown him in good nick, which he looked when he ran third the time before, He won the race last year. He's off a much higher mark this time, but he does deserve to be. I think he likes the track. I think he'd go well. Mazzini's likely to be favourite. This horse was talked up as having improved dramatically from last season, but boiled over in the paddock first time out at Ascot and then ran terribly the next time as well, but was back in form last time and could go well. But for me, it's Amazor.
Amazor. Rob, you got a view?
Yeah, I like Ribeiro, the previous course winner. He very good when he was dropped back to 6 furlongs in his most recent start. I was very taken by that win. Obviously, he's gone up 11 pounds, but course form is going to be key, and I think he could be still ahead of the handicapper. And nearly 50 years on Irish Derby Day since Ribeiro won. I think Ribeiro could win over at Newcastle.
Ooh. Very good. 2.25 at Newcastle, the Bedford TV Chip Chase Stakes. Oh, I always have to say stakes in case you think it's a chase sponsored by Chip. It's a 6 furlong dash, and one of Kills' old favourites, Don't Touch, heads the market, Rob.
He does. He's a 7-2 market leader. We're 9-2 about Kimberella. It's 7's Perfect Pasture and Ornate. 8's Final Venture. 9-1 Carapic. 10's Aeolus and 12's Bar.
Kills, unravel this.
Yeah, wide open. This is. I find it really difficult. I mean, I do like Don't Touch, but I think he's probably short enough based on what he's done. And Kimberella keeps bouncing back to me. There's another old favourite, one of the oldest in the race. He was really good at the start of the season. He won the all-weather championship at Lingfield, very, very well back that day, and sort of lost his form after that. But he just bounced back with a third in the Scottish Sprint Cup at Musselburgh last time. That was over 5 furlongs, but he's every bit as good over 6. And if he's going to win a group race, it might be this one, but it is wide open.
Lee, what do you reckon?
I reckon it's interesting that poor old Matmu runs in this race. Poor old Matmu, because Matmu went to stud this year, but the mares didn't like him. He
was he ugly?
He had no joy. They just weren't queuing up to see him. So his ardour has been dampened, and he's gone back to racing.
Seriously, what did happen? There just wasn't the demand for his services.
No demand for his services. Apparently, maybe the market has been flooded with.
That's unusual, isn't it?
Well, it was certainly a disappointment to them. So I think they might try again in the future, but they might well need to make his profile slightly more attractive. So the Chip Chase could start by doing that, but I think a more likely winner is Final Venture. Ran a decent race at Royal Ascot in the King's Stand. This is considerably easier. It does look, as Keels has said, a winnable Group 3, and Final Venture might be the one to win it.
Rob, do you have a price for Matt Moo to win the best turned out?
I'd say you're talking long odds.
Who do you like for this race then, Rob?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Perfect Pasture obviously caused a surprise when he won at a Windsor in a listed race. I just thought Carapic down the bottom. His 2-year-old form isn't bad, and he ran well when he was second to Patash at Sandown 2 weeks ago. I just thought he looked as though he was coming back to form at about 9s. I thought he was maybe a bit of value.
Okie doke, at 3 o'clock we've got the Betfred Northumberland Vase. It's the consolation race for those that didn't get into the plate. What's the latest show, please, Rob Catson?
Right, we're 5-2 London Prize. This is one of the money back races, by the way. If the favourite wins, it'll be money back in the next 3 home. So 5-2 about London Prize. Kensington Star is 11-2. October Storm is 6s. 7s Graceland and High Command. 12-1 I Am Not There and Velvet Revolution, and we're 16s Bar.
Right, Kills, it's about time you danced down the wicket and attacked one with gusto. What do you think here?
Well, yeah, but this race is all about the favourite, unfortunately. I don't like backing favourites, but he's an absolute standout, London Prize, and I think 5-2 is probably fair enough. I mean, this is the horse that really points to the chance of Natural Scenery winning the plate, because he's the one. He was second, but absolutely thrashed by Natural Scenery. That was his debut on the all-weather in February. Since then, he next time out, he came out over hurdles and won the Imperial Cup at Sandown, and then back on the flat last time at Goodwood, he absolutely bolted up by 6 lengths. He carries a £5 penalty. I think it makes him £4 well in. And he's just unlucky that he didn't quite squeeze into the main race. I mean, he's got to take the world a beating.
Righty-ho. Lee, what are your views?
Yeah, I'd agree with Keels that London Prize will be hard to beat. If there is one to go up against him, I would suggest I'm Not Here. Represents the Seymour team. Brian Ellison again. Ran at Carlisle during the week in the Cumberland Plate, one of their big contests, but does have a record of backing up really well. Won a race 5 days after a defeat last year. Didn't run badly at Carlisle. Up in trip because I'm Not Here going well.
Righty-ho, Rob?
Yeah, I like the bottom horse just at a price, October Storm. Ran in the Queen Alexandra last Saturday. I thought that possibly was stretching his stamina too far. He's back to 2 miles. Won his maiden on the poly track. Mick Shannon's horse going well. He's had 4 winners in the last week or so. Getting weight all round. I thought October Storm had a big chance.